And we're back with Lobby Concessionals, the movie podcast where nobody's right and everybody's wrong. Like and subscribe, follow us along on our social media channels. Check out the links below in the description. Brendon, welcome back, dude.
Speaking of being back.
Yeah, no kidding. It isn't exactly clear from our, for our audience, I guess. It's been about 6 weeks.
Maybe more.
I had a
from the ashes.
Yeah, I did some recording 10 days ago with Allison. But yeah, it's you and I were both on various vacations, and then
deathly ill.
And then ill. Yeah, man. So how does it feel to be back in the saddle, dude?
Like riding a shitty bike.
Fair enough. I seem to remember that when you were going through our last after the credits, when Allison and I talked,
yes,
that you were furious. I think the way you described it to me was you spent the entire episode shouting at your screen. So I took that to mean you have some thoughts.
I just felt left out. I had things to say.
Okay, fair enough.
And our 3 listeners couldn't hear me.
Oh, yeah. And it's important that they do. So, we're going to talk about Doctor Strange for the 4th time in a row?
No, what I'll do is I'm just going to go through everything you guys talked about really quickly and just throw out a quick blurb.
Okay,
so
fair
that
enough.
I don't jam up this episode with stuff that people have listened to for the last 3 fucking weeks.
Sure. Fair enough.
So I'll go quickly in order here. Doctor Strange, liked it. Wish the Wanda stuff was better. Thought it, like you mentioned it a little bit. I thought it was a bit of a character assassination.
Yeah.
And I know some of these hardcore Marvel bros are going to come at me with be like, oh, you must have not seen the end credit scene for WandaVision. I'm like, I did. Fuck you. It's 10 seconds. That's not storytelling.
Yeah.
I wish the Illuminati stuff was better. I wish there.
That's
was
a bit of a hot take, I think.
Is it? I guess this is one of those few times I think I wish I could separate the comics from the movies.
Oh, okay.
And in the comics, they are the team. They're not even a team. They're just it is the strongest of the best of the thing, and there's their secret thing, and I love the idea of it.
Sure.
And here the idea that they had to use substitutes, like I don't Mordo doesn't really fit on there, and I Captain Marvel, that version, any version of Captain Marvel, I've never thought of it as her being on there. Even the Captain Carter stuff. And I think she's a great character. So don't come after me about it being a shit character. I think she's great.
Yeah.
But Steve isn't on the Illuminati for a reason. They do stuff that he wouldn't agree with.
Oh, sure.
Right? It's a weird clandestine group that does bad things.
So Peggy wouldn't be okay with that.
I don't think Peggy would be. I think they just put it on there, and I get it. You want the oohs and the ahs of all of the cameos and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's fine. They're a super secret group. But their headquarters is in the middle of the city of Central Park, and the door to their room is in the middle of a hallway. I don't. Nitpicky comic book stuff, but I just wish they would take the and then the way they got wrecked.
Sorry, hold up though. Who is comprises this group in the comics?
It's it's Reed, Strange, Namor, Tony, Professor X. And I think Black Panther.
Okay. So yeah, I could see those 6 people being potentially morally ambiguous for the greater good.
And that's exactly what it was, right?
Yeah,
The story spins out a little bit and people get replaced, but they end up becoming the Cabal, which is a bad guy version. It's Norman Osborn, Emma Frost, Doctor Doom.
Oh, cool.
The coolest of the cool.
Yeah.
So the idea that you're just kind of picking characters and placing them in there for oohs and ahs and for hooping and hollering.
Yeah.
I get it. Cool. Yeah, Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I get it. That's fine. But those were my nitpicks.
Okay.
I thought, other than that, I think there's cool stuff to be had there. I thought America was underused, but great.
Sure.
I think she's really, really fun. So that's Doctor Strange. What else did you guys do? I did The Northman, which I thought was phenomenal and might have been my favorite movie of 2022 so far.
Okay.
I thought it was brilliant. And then I watched Top Gun Maverick. which is now my favorite movie of 2022.
Oh, bam.
And I know it's so on brand for us to just wave that cruise flag.
Oh, yeah. It's a great flag, though.
Oh, man, but
It's got a great face.
that movie is so good.
Incredible.
So good. I mean, we had a brief conversation about it because we just could not have a conversation about it. I just don't know that I've ever had a movie that has made a sequel that, number one, a sequel that shouldn't exist, which is better than the original movie, but makes the original movie obsolete.
Yeah. Like, it's far better.
Yeah. And again, it does so much emotional weightlifting that you don't need the first movie.
Yeah, like, it definitely lifts more emotional weights than the entire first movie.
Yeah, for sure. So that was incredible. What else do you guys do?
Downton Abbey?
Love it. I've never watched it.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I think I've dabbled in it just because I was curious, and maybe I'll go back to it at some point, but it hasn't been anything that has pushed anything out of the priority queue.
That's entirely the reason I have Allison on this show, just so that she can talk about things that you and I were never going to talk about.
Stranger Things, season 4.
Yep.
I liked it. Not as much as you. I think it's better than season 3, but I do have issues with it. And I don't know if we want to go into it.
What do you think about my boy Eddie?
Best new character.
Basically only new character. But like,
well, no, Argyle is the other guy, but he's annoying.
He is annoying.
He's quite annoying.
He gets same character as that he is in
Booksmart.
And so that's, as far as I'm concerned, gets a check mark in my book.
Yeah. I just again, I think a new character that's annoying that gets put on, obviously with the characters that all suck.
Yeah, he gets put on the worst team for sure.
Yeah. So, but Nancy, Steve, Robin, Eddie, Dustin, Max, incredible.
What about
and Lucas? Lucas is fine, and Lucas is made better by Max.
He is significantly.
But I could watch just those guys.
I could just watch Steve and Eddie forever.
Ugh. Yeah, and I love. I love that they broke Nancy free of Jonathan because she's a great character and he's the worst character.
Yeah, he's an anchor.
Oh God, he's just a sandbag.
Yeah,
just a sandbag, and she's great, and I love her relationship with Robin already.
Yeah,
so yeah, and I thought I was done after season 3 because I thought season 3 was doo-doo.
Sure.
So I was pleasantly surprised.
Good to hear. Good stuff.
Pleasantly surprised, and I think that's me being caught up.
Yes. Oh, did we talk? We did talk. Everything Everywhere All at Once. We talked a while back, right? That wasn't
you
recent.
and Allison did that one, and I ended up watching it. I love it, not as much as everybody else.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and I think
is it because there's like been too many entries into the Asian parents apologizing genre?
If you're gonna call me out for it, and that's tough, and that's a really strong conversation to have. I hope people can see in the video that I am Asian.
Yeah, they can see it. Yeah, I can see.
But I think, in a crowded field of, especially the last couple of years between Crazy Rich Asians, The Farewell, even things like Shang-Chi, Turning Red, and even Encanto to some degree, not Asian, but like that whole family vibe.
And those last 3, like we're talking like last 8 months.
Yeah,
like, there has been a shocking number of entries.
Absolutely, and I'm sure I'm missing some is the thing.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So that didn't hit as hard as I thought it would. It still hits hard.
Yeah,
it's a reminder of Asian family dynamics is always going to get to me.
Sure, totally.
But I have felt like I need a little bit more coming from it. And then I didn't think it was weird as a lot of people thought it was.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's an interesting take.
Yeah, I don't think it's as weird as everybody thought it was. I don't think it's as I don't want to say not groundbreaking because there's stuff there that they do. I think the genre bending is kind of cool, but I don't know if it doesn't feel unique to me as everybody else says it is. And I'm gonna let people have that. I'm not gonna take that away from everybody, right? That's just my personal experience. But the hot dog fingers isn't enough. Like, it's just not.
It's a lot, though. What about Hei Kwang?
Oh, it's so cool to see that dude.
Yeah,
doing stuff and sounding exactly like he's still 8.
Exactly the same. I love it. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, it's the first scene, and he opens his mouth. I'm like, oh my god, that dude has not aged at all. But he's great in it.
He's so good.
He's so good. But again, I see him, and I just like, waves and waves of years of being called short round come back to me.
Ooh, that's unfortunate.
Well, it's just an Asian guy in a ball cap. Like,
I get it, but like,
so yeah, I loved it. Didn't love it as much as everybody else did, but still think it's great.
okay, fair enough.
That's about
are you
2
caught
months.
up?
Is that 2 months? That's 2 months worth, right? I know.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Moon Knight. I thought it's pretty forgettable. Like I think it was good, but I wish it was. I wish it was
forgettable. I really liked Oscar Isaac. And
Oh,
I think he did a great job, and I like the characters, and I'm excited to see more from those characters. And
Yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, forgettable is strong, but it is one of those things. Like Oscar is easily the best part of it.
Yeah.
And that's not a question at all. The seamless switching between the personalities and all that stuff is phenomenal. But plot wise and stuff like that, I'm like, the giant hippo shows up and then stuff happens. And
yeah, they kind of derail it a little bit, unfortunately. I was really excited because I think it was episode 5 or whatever it is, near the end there when they kind of they go to the asylum or the institution. It starts hinting at that there's a comic run that's like that.
The Jeff Lemire run.
Yeah, Lemire, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and I quite liked that Jeff Lemire storyline. There's, I think it's 12 issues, and the first 6, as far as I was concerned, was amazing. Yeah. And then the next 6, I think it fell apart a little bit. The wheels kind of fell off. They clearly didn't know exactly how to finish it, and it was a tough storyline to finish. But I was excited to see the show take on some of it, and then they didn't. They didn't really.
Yeah. The tease was bad because I like you. I wish the Mr. Knight stuff was more of a thing as opposed to just another costume he wore.
Yeah, and I get why they did it, and I kind of like the fact that like it's nice to be able to see the two personalities interact in the like as Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And so it's a good visual cue for the audience. But I really liked Mr. Knight in the comics, and he's not at all the same.
No.
Now I do think it's interesting though, because in the comics, Moon Knight is effectively a different personality.
Yes.
So it is the show decided to take it as one of the personalities is in charge of being Moon Knight. Like he stays the same.
Yeah,
while effectively in the comics, he's Steven, he's oh my God. No, I can't remember their names. Steven Grant?
Yeah.
No, Steven Grant. Damn it, that's the one guy. Anyway.
Mark
Spector. Jeff. No, Lockley. Jack Lockley. Jake. Oh man, we're getting there slowly. So Steven, Mark, or Jake. So he's one of those 3, or he's Moon Knight. Yeah. While in this case, it's like he's just one of those 3, and then they also have a Moon Knight alternate for each of those. I assume anyway. We haven't seen Jake's, but anyway, So that's actually kind of a good transition. Miss Marvel has started up. We are
2 episodes in.
2 episodes in as of the taping of this. I believe there will be 3 episodes in as of the airing of this episode.
Yeah.
So I was really stoked about this character. I hadn't really heard much about her. Frankly, I'm a bandwagon guy a bit when it comes to comics. So the show got announced, and then I immediately read a whole bunch of Miss Marvel comics,
which everybody should do. Like, I wish that was more of the case. Is what I'm saying.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Again, I don't mind bandwagons. Everyone's already there. And so I immediately fell in love with the character. Yeah. Kamala Khan in the comics oozes charm. I've always liked Spider-Man comics. And so I like the teen hero trying to make, trying to balance being a superhero and being a kid kind of vibe. And so you get a lot of that with Kamala. I also learned a lot, which I didn't expect, about a different culture.
Yeah.
And about Muslim traditions and culture. And I guess, is that fair to say? Muslim culture?
Yeah,
it is, right?
Somebody will correct us.
Fair enough. But it was cool, and it was interesting to see. And then on top of that, I loved her powers. They were quirky and fun and cartoony a little bit. And so I have really enjoyed this show so far in terms of Aman Vellani,
She's so good.
the actress they've cast, is perfect. She is the casting is incredible. I love what they've done with culture and stuff, and with her family dynamic is ripped straight from the comics. Except for maybe the dad is a little bit more lovable in the TV show, which I appreciate.
He's a hard ass in the comics.
Yeah. But I liking because he still comes across a little bit hard in the show as far as I'm concerned.
The mom is taking that spot for sure.
Yeah,
though,
a little
right?
bit. Yeah. But I'm liking the dynamic quite a lot. And so all of the things I wanted them to keep are there, with the big, massive exception of the power set. And so in the comics, she is elastic and bendy, and she has embiggen powers. And so she's a little bit like Mr. Fantastic, but she does she hits harder than him, basically.
Yeah.
And they decided not to do that. Which sucks, because I really liked first of all, the quirkiness of it. I liked the fact that she had weird powers that didn't make her look cool.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it buys into themes of body dysmorphia that I think everyone can kind of agree with, or can relate to as going through puberty and stuff. Now, Allison has pointed out outside of the podcast that it could be that they tried it and it looked bad on screen. But
I don't know that we'll ever really know, because we've heard so many different reasons and stories, and everybody seems to have a reason as to why they changed it.
Sure.
And they, for the most part, those reasons line up, but obviously it feels like a creative, I hope it's a story choice, and I hope that story choice is a good choice.
Yeah.
Right? Because if it doesn't, for one thing, yes, the charm is not there. In terms of the powers, the rest of the charm is quite there.
Absolutely.
I love the uniqueness of her powers, but it also takes away her tagline. Embiggen, it's literally the thing, right?
Yeah.
and you kind of take it away from her a little bit, and that makes me sad, because I love that stuff. It's when I read that stuff with her, it does feel like a 14-year-old embracing her inner superhero, doing weird things of yelling out her moves and announcing herself and stuff like that. I think that's adorable, and I think they take it away a little bit with this power set.
Yeah, it's tough, and there's all sorts of potential reasons why. Again, I think the best explanation I've heard is the fact that it looked ridiculous and it was hard to pull off in a live action show.
Sure.
And so if that's it, I get it, at least I'm empathetic, but I really wish they could have made it work.
I mean, it doesn't look great now.
I don't think it looks that good either. Yeah, I don't think it's a great upgrade.
No.
It looks kind of cheap as far as I'm concerned. And on top of that, the powers are literally different in terms of, they didn't even change just the way it looked. She can, episode 2, she's creating platforms in the air.
Yeah.
And, she's got powers kind of like Green Lantern now. And it's, the heart of the character's still there. And so I'm glad they've stayed true to that. But I'm disappointed about the power set. I hope it works out, and I hope it works out in a way that I can be happy with her as a character. But I'm still oh man, you guys could have knocked it out of the park, and you're
sure,
yeah,
especially with the amount of bad CG that you guys put out already.
Totally.
Is it really that much of a stretch to just live with it?
Yeah,
and
totally.
have people understand it's a TV budget.
Yeah. And she's gonna be in the Marvels, which is the film with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
They've already announced that, so maybe we just get used to the TV budget and then we see it better on the big screen.
Yeah. Well, apparently one of the creative choices was to make the powers the way they are, so she fits better in the Marvels. Who knows if that's real or not? I get it when you say it that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me any happier about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Again, that's weird comic book nitpicky stuff, but when it's that important to the core of the character, I can't help but feel that, right?
Yeah, and there's so much of that stuff that we just talked about Moon Knight, and I was a little disappointed with the Mr. Knight thing, but I'm far more disappointed about the Miss Marvel stuff. At the end of the day, the Mr. Knight thing really didn't grind my gears that much. I was happy with what they did with the characters, and I was happy to see that character on the screen at all.
Sure.
I think that Miss Marvel is a popular enough character that this was inevitable. So knowing that this was going to happen,
Could have found a way.
They should have found a way.
Yeah.
And again, I'm being nitpicky. They have nailed a whole bunch, like most of the other elements. I haven't had any issues otherwise.
Yeah.
So if this is the one thing I had to give up for them to get everything else perfect, fine. But
We'll see.
But I have seen some people online, like it got review bombed and stuff.
Of course
Ridiculous.
it did. Of course it did.
And the number of people I saw way before it came out that are like, I'm just not interested in this one. And I'm like, you've watched every other Marvel property. You watched through like 6 seasons of terrible Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you're telling me you're not going to watch this? Like, oh, come on. And in fairness to some people, I found the teasers to be underwhelming, like the trailers and stuff. I thought they looked a little too kiddie.
Well, it's definitely skewed toward a younger audience, so there's
Sure.
a lot of alienating there, and I get it, but it's dumb.
Yeah.
It's
a great show.
Yeah, it's good. I'm a big fan so far.
Anything more to add? I was going to transition away here.
I just quickly, I did want to say I was worried about the weird kiddiness of it from those trailers.
Yeah, right?
But I think what's nice about it when you watch it is it actually puts another layer of that. Like, so the Marvel stuff is already pretty bright and cheery and pretty positive,
Sure.
as it is. And I didn't think it could get any more without maybe
Being cheap.
overdoing it.
Yeah, totally.
But the charm that they've added with the little animations and her thought bubbles and stuff, it's pitch perfect.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that too.
That was the stuff that was going to worry me, but they were able to just very, very smartly able to raise that level and still make her even a bit of a brighter star than some of the ones who are already like a little bit more Marvelized.
Yeah,
So I was pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I think they did it in a subtle way, but in a clever way,
Yeah.
with a lot of those little extras that I was quite happy with.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff with Iman Vellani, and she's stoked, and I'm like, man, you're just adorable in everything I've seen you in. Like, I hope that she goes far as in this case, it's perfect casting. I have no idea if she's actually a good actress outside of this. Like it's one of these things that she's perfect for this character, but can she continue to act afterwards? But I truly do wish her well, and I hope things go
Just feels
well
like if
for her.
she spent the next 20 years playing this character, she'd be okay with it.
Yeah, fair enough. But to pivot a little bit, I was lucky enough to watch Lightyear right when it came out.
Nice.
So wanted to just give a quick little, because you haven't seen it.
I have not seen it.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed it.
Okay.
The wife enjoyed it a fair amount more than I did. I honestly thought I could have waited for Disney Plus. I did enjoy it. I think Chris Evans is great. I love him. He embodies the voice quite well. I think he does a good job with the character.
Hashtag not my Toy Story.
What I didn't realize is right at the start they made it clear that this is the movie that we are watching the movie that Andy watched in 1995.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize. I thought this was supposed to be
A real person.
real astronaut.
I also
that was
thought,
in that world.
I also thought that was how it was pitched.
Yeah, that's how it had been communicated to me. At least I thought anyway.
Yeah.
But as soon as we walk in, and it's like, no, this is the movie Andy watches in Toy Story that inspires him to love Buzz Lightyear. And I was like, oh, okay. And it makes sense why there's aliens and stuff. Why there's otherworldly things. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. There's been plenty of controversy and stuff about the same-sex kiss. Holy smokes, is that overblown? Obviously, it's ridiculous, and it's silly that there's countries that are banning it and not allowing their citizens to see this movie because of blatant homophobia, But even if there was any reason to be against the same-sex couple, I literally didn't even see it happen. There is clearly a same-sex couple, but they are frequently seen through a door. They're not even main characters in the film.
Yeah.
The amount of same-sex couple being on the screen, at all in any context, is probably I'd be amazed if it was 10 seconds of screen time total.
Well, it's 15 seconds too much.
Fair enough. And then the kiss that has caused the outrage is like a peck. And like I said, I literally missed it to a point where I literally looked it up online. I'm like, did they remove it from my screening? And I'm like, oh no, that must have happened. Like, I remember the scene around this. It's so ridiculous. Oh man, and again, I know it's obvious. Homophobia is ridiculous as a thing, but
this is burning you up though.
Wow,
this is crazy.
It was just unbelievable that this was even remotely a problem.
Yeah, well, it was the same problem with, was it Rise of Skywalker?
What? Oh,
and then in the end, when they're celebrating, there's a same-sex kiss that happens in the background.
Oh, really?
And it's just exactly. There's just like a thing. There's like it's a slow pan across, and then two pilots kiss. And it was like a bit of an uproar as well.
Wow. Ridiculous. Yeah, totally crazy.
Maybe it's just don't kiss in space.
It's a space thing. It's got to be that. Yeah. It's not a homophobia thing.
It's not a homophobia thing.
But no, I did quite enjoy it. I would recommend it.
Yeah,
like it's a great movie. I cried. I always cry in Pixar movies, so that's not exactly a high bar.
And Woody's not even in it, so what are you crying about?
Well, like when Woody's in it, I'm only crying because he's being a dick to everyone. So, yeah, that's all I had to say about Lightyear. Again, astounding. Like, just...
Yeah, I'll get back to you in 2 weeks as I catch up.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Anything on your end? What's new? What have you watched?
Obi-Wan. Speaking of space kissing.
Oh, man, we're gonna talk about it. Is there even any kissing in it?
There is not.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Man, Vader and Obi need to kiss.
The tension is insane to me.
Palpable.
Yeah, if they touch lightsabers one more time, I'm gonna explode.
Oh, so will they. Oh man. What's your thoughts?
Oh,
You're all sorry. Just for context, again,
we are in episode 5.
We are on episode 5.
Yeah,
the last one is the finale.
Yeah, so by the time we air this gets posted.
Yeah,
episode 6 will have been out.
Okay, so we're not discussing finale, but up until then.
Yeah. Man, I don't know where to start.
Probably the beginning.
I hate that. Without sounding like just an absolute. Again, it's tough because we spent this episode kind of being nitpicky about nerd stuff.
Time to be nitpicky.
Yeah. You know, if there's gonna be a time to get called out for it, now would be it. And usually stuff like this doesn't bother me, but again, like as we move through this expanded Star Wars universe, expanded Star Wars universe, I struggle because it keeps ignoring the stuff that comes before it.
Okay.
You know, and it's small stuff. Obviously, spoilers abound.
Sure.
We're going to talk about it, right? The Leia stuff doesn't bother me as much as it bothers everybody else.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was an issue.
Well,
I quite liked her.
Well, she's great is the thing, right? But like in the original movies, it's made almost pretty explicit that Leia and Obi-Wan have never met.
Is it?
Well, it's just like her introduction is like, General Kenobi, years ago you served my father and blah blah. That it sounds like they've never met.
Yeah, fair enough.
And you can take that little piece and either say that they did or say that they didn't. And she's just reintroducing herself, so it doesn't bother me nearly as much.
Or she's trying to be coy or something. Yeah, sure.
Sure. I can suspend my disbelief, but then you start messing with iconic lines. Like the big one for me is the Vader line. So Obi-Wan, when we last met, I was but the learner and you were with the master.
Mm.
And now that's not true.
Oh, yeah.
And now that's not true at all. Like, now there's times in between where they have met.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, now we're treading on actively taking away things from the original movie. And which is, George was doing that anyways.
Sure.
You know, but that one stuck with me for some weird reason. And it bothers me to a point where I don't know why. And it bothers me that it bothers me. Because I want to try to enjoy this independent of that.
Yeah.
Like, Ewan is Ewaning the shit out of this show.
Absolutely.
And he's the reason why I'm watching.
Yep.
So I can watch Ewan's Obi-Wan without any kind of, with blinders on, basically.
Yeah.
But everything else around it I struggle with. I'm not gonna lie. I think Reva sucks.
Who's Reva?
Exactly. She's the Inquisitor.
Oh, I liked her actually. Really,
I struggle with her
really
character,
enjoyed
and it's not. This is not a reflection on the actress, because I know there's been a big outcry of that stuff again. I'm like, ridiculous. I just think she's poorly written, because I think she's a shoehorned character to provide a POV character to move this story along where there's just not supposed to be a story. Like, this shouldn't be a thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And she's shoehorned in there to move this stuff along, but at the pace that we're doing it, I cannot relate to her. And she's not relatable as a POV character, because she's a bad guy, and then she was a youngling, and then now she's still a revenge thing. And I like it's whiplash.
There's a little bit of that for sure.
You know? And she's written one tone, so she's either smoldering or she's just yelling, and that's not indicative of her acting skill. I just think as a character she's undercooked, and I think as a character she's horribly written.
That's fair.
But that's just me.
Yeah. I think, and I've said this to you already, I have loved what they've done with Obi-Wan characterization-wise. In particular, I think a lot of the heavy lifting was those first 2 episodes. I loved his inner turmoil about keeping Luke and I think Leia safe by staying hidden and not helping, and what his role in the universe is. I think that is, frankly, that's the kind of stuff we don't see in Star Wars. And I'm excited to see it. We got a little bit of that we get a little bit of inner turmoil in Rogue One. I loved some of that with Cassian Andor, where we get an idea of him being, is he okay with being a bad person if it's for the right reasons, And I love the shades of gray and the morality and the struggle with that, and the human struggle, and it reaches down to the core of what it means to be human. And so I think they nailed some of that. I loved the Owen Lars clapback. Like you trained his father thing.
Joel Edgerton, man.
Oh man, love that guy.
That guy's the best.
But I just like him as a character. We've only seen him the one time, but he nailed it for the one appearance. But I've said it a few times. There is things that is happening in this show that I would not cut slack for if it was any other show. Like, I am giving them so much leeway and just letting them get away with stuff that I would just not tolerate.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't Vader killing more people? Like, the fact is the fact that the third sister is still alive at the end of this episode. Vader would have cut her head off. Like, he had the two sabers. Yeah. He would have done a Dooku and just decapitated
and I thought that's what they were going for.
Yeah, and like he has Obi-Wan, and then he just decides sort of to let him go. Like, there's a number of times where I'm like, he would have been brutal, and I get like he tortures him a bit, but suddenly, because there's more fire, he can no longer force pull him. Like, he just conveniently forgets about powers he has been using up until then.
Yeah.
And the characters are not acting to their own ends. They are acting to the story's ends.
Yep.
And it is embarrassing. And again, I wouldn't put up with it in any other show, but because I want to see more of what Obi-Wan is doing, and I want to see more Kenobi, I let them get away with it.
And that's my Reva problem.
And it's so frustrating.
And you use the perfect word, too. It's convenience.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Reva stuff, if you remember the episode where Leia's running through the fucking tunnels to try to get to the other side of the ship, and Reva is at the entrance and realizes there's a tunnel, and Leia gets to the end and Reva's already there.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
But
it's stuff like that. But it's constant. If it's a one-off instance,
fair enough.
If it's a one-off instance, fine. But even Reva and Obi-Wan having a conversation about Obi-Wan serving up Anakin in front of, what is that, like 100 stormtroopers?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And it's if you have that, and if it's an isolated incident, it's fine. But with Reva, it's constant. That character is so convenient to move the story along that she becomes, every time I see her on screen, I'm like, oh, well, she's just there to serve the purpose of getting to episode 6.
And I think it's a little bit unfair to blame it on her character. Or not, you're not, but like even just that her character is the linchpin of these writing problems. Because I think it's not far more than that. And you're right, maybe some of it,
she's just the most blatant.
Ends up becoming,
she's the most blatant use of it.
Yeah, a big part of it. But like it's everything. And people have talked about the chase scenes and stuff. And I do think the chase scenes are ridiculous. Some of it doesn't bother me quite as much as others were saying, but there's a number of chase scenes, I found this in Book of Boba Fett, where it felt like people are pretending to run and noticeably not running. And I don't know why it is. Someone on the internet mentioned that it could be because of that digital set they're using. That there's literally just not enough space
to run.
So they do run. It will look worse. But it looks awful. Guys, you have all the money in the world, throw a little bit more cash at this and make it happen.
Just double the size of the set.
Or stop putting in chase scenes. Like if it's gonna look this bad, cut them. Yeah. That's the benefit of streaming. You don't need to have a 45-minute episode. If it is better off with that chase scene removed, then cut the chase scene. Like I don't know. It just seems like such amateur filmmaking to me.
Yeah.
That like and they're skipping these steps or just. And unfortunately, I'm part of the problem. Of course. Disney looks at this and goes, well, we did this on the cheap. And
it's the most watched Disney Plus of all time.
Absolutely. And the numbers are still great. And so I understand that I'm not helping. But like, come on, guys.
And it's tough too, because it's like the snake eating its own tail, right? Because like at the end of the day, in my mind, I'm like, oh, this would be better served if it was 10 episodes, not 6. Because then we could flesh out a whole bunch of other stuff. And maybe something like my problem with Reva wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, maybe.
But then I think about it, I'm like, I don't know if I would want to watch 10 episodes of this because it's so shite.
Yeah.
And it's not shite. Obviously, there's good things about it. But man, like if you gun to my head is the only way I'd watch 10 episodes of Book of Boba Fett. You know?
Yeah.
That's rough.
Well, literally the only reason I watched I watched the episodes we did get of Book of Boba Fett is because it became Mando 2.5. Yeah. And we had oh god. Nope, can't remember his name. Buddy from oh man, this is really falling apart. The cowboy dude.
Timothy Oliphant.
Damn it. Idiot Parker. And yeah, seeing Timothy Oliphant was great again. But,
I like Timothy.
But yeah, really the only reason I watched it is because there was Mando story progression. And they seem to realize that. Like, which is kind of the worst part too, is I'm like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
So man. It's just so unfortunate because there's so much they can do with that world and those characters. And we're finally off Tatooine again, and I was excited about that, But there's fundamental flaws. And you have time and you have people. Like, why aren't they using the talented individuals they do have? Like, man.
So before you blow an entire gasket.
Yeah, no kidding.
I do want to call out, again, not the entire fandom. And I've stayed away from most of this.
Yeah.
But you talked about it earlier with Obi-Wan's progression in the show and how amazing those first 2 episodes serve his struggle and his journey.
Yeah.
And people seem to be enjoying it, right?
Like his journey,
his journey and what he's going through.
Yeah.
So why does he get a pass and why does Luke's story get shat all over? Because it's the same story.
Like the Luke story in the sequels.
In The Last Jedi.
Yeah. Well, like the Last Jedi hate doesn't make any sense. Like I think people were just unhappy in general because it's not the story they explicitly wanted. But you're totally right. You're absolutely correct. I think part of the difference is probably that Luke was with them in the first, all 3 of those movies. Well, Kenobi hasn't been. But that's hardly an excuse.
Yeah.
And a bad one, frankly.
Terrible.
It's just
There's
not.
no argument.
Not
That there's no argument, but I've yet to see a good argument.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know. I keep thinking about it too, and I just don't see there being a way they can really satisfactorily end this series.
No, especially because I kind of caught a whiff of it at the beginning, and I'm like, oh, this isn't, again, I feel like I'm bagging on her, and it's not the, I want to say it's not the actress.
Oh man, you're just gonna do it again?
I'm gonna do it again, but it's Reva's show. And at the end of the day, because we know where Vader ends up, we know where Obi-Wan ends up. It's Reva's story. It's Reva's rise. It's Reva's redemption. And I bet you at the end of this thing, I'll call it right now, before this even airs, because we've told everybody, she will turn and she will protect Luke and Leia. That's the end of that show. And then we're probably going to get a Reva show or more Reva stuff. There's no reason to introduce a new character like that and not make a bunch of stories and toys that they can't sell more of.
Yeah, you're probably right. And especially since you're probably right about that, I'm gonna choose to ignore the complaints you've had about her, because generally I haven't had an issue. Like, my issue is the writing, not her, and not the character, sure, she might service some of those problems, but no, you're probably right, and there probably will be spin-offs with her. And again, I truly haven't minded her. I have had plenty of problems with it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I think I would overall say I am enjoying it, but it should be better.
Yeah.
It can be better. There is enough talented people involved. There's no reason that it should be.
Well, I'm feeling like at the end of the day, especially with something like Obi-Wan and getting Ewan to come back and Hayden to come back, it should feel bigger than it is. And I get that it's the #1 streamed Disney Plus show of all time.
Sure.
But we've talked about this in other episodes where Star Wars, I miss when Star Wars used to feel big.
Yeah.
Really, really big. But we're hot off the heels of a Boba Fett show, and like we're on an Obi-Wan show, and it all feels so watered down.
Yeah.
And it's good-ish, but you want it to feel grand, and cinematic, and all these things. And sure, it might look sometimes cinematic, but you're right. Sometimes the sets are too small, and all that stuff. So it impedes that. But it just doesn't feel special anymore.
Yeah. It's funny too, because it's interesting timing. I don't know exactly how it happened. I don't know quite the context, but Taika Waititi was asked recently about his Star Wars film.
Yeah.
That is apparently still happening.
Yes.
And he
might be the next one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But he mentioned the fact that he's going to have new characters, and it's time to have, whole new adventures in this world. And man, it's weird timing for him to come out and say that, because this whole show reeks of that, where I'm like, I want to see something new. Or at the very least, I want them to do something like show me a rehash of the stuff I already liked. Like the animated Rebels show, there's portions of that I really enjoyed. And frankly, the portions that I enjoyed was the Maul stuff. So if this was
half an episode,
there is more than half an episode. But if this was just Rebels but live action with Kenobi and Maul, great. Let's do it. Like, I'd be way more stoked about that,
we're
because
that
so
soon,
far, be better.
Well, because I think the Ahsoka show was mostly a Rebels reunion show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, is Maul back though?
I don't know. I think it's like Thrawn. It'll be
Thrawn.
Thrawn. So
yeah,
like
Thrawn's
Ahsoka, I
dope.
think Sabine's in it. I think that'll be the return of Ezra. I don't care. I'm done.
Oh, I'm stoked actually. No, like you've hated on Rebels before. We've talked about this, and the hate I think is undeserved. Ezra is annoying as hell.
Yes,
but other than that, I think that show's great. But like,
great's a strong word.
No, it's quite good. It's really, really good. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's just partially the problem is we're never gonna see, like, even the action with Kenobi and Vader has been lackluster. I've often wondered about it sucks that the only Vader Kenobi reunion we get in the films anyway is their fight in Episode 4, which is so boring and lame. And it's in comparison to their fight in Episode 3, it's like, wow, we have, when you put it in chronological in-universe order, it's really lame to look at. But we're not even going to get a better fight. Like,
even that moment gets ruined with this show, if I think about it, because when they're running through the thing, and Luke spots them fighting, and he obviously is upset about it. Leia just like runs by.
Yeah. Doesn't care.
And then the show, she's like holding his hand.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that like.
Still, that fight already sucked, though.
That's not about the fight, like,
it's about the fight for me.
You just need one old man Obi-Wan flip.
Yeah. I did see someone. There's some fan that remade that scene,
sure.
and it's it's on YouTube. I think it's called like SC85 or something.
Yeah.
Which I think is like Scene 85. Anyway, it was remarkable, and I'm like, man, it would have been cool to see like a true lightsaber battle in this. And I understand why we didn't, and obviously that's ridiculous. That was the first movie that was made. It was made for a low budget, yada, yada, yada. I get it. Totally. 100%.
What you're saying is remake the originals.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. But I am saying, okay, so this is your opportunity then. Now we can get an old man Kenobi. We can have them do a little bit of a rematch. Why does their fight suck?
Because they're probably building up to the last episode fight.
Yeah, but you really think it's going to be rewarding?
I don't know. It depends on what Reva does.
Oh, man. Anyway, I'm just frustrated now. So, can we talk about something? Like, do we have anything to talk about that I can be happy about before we end this episode?
No.
Man, that is...
No, if you want to quickly talk, we can talk about Chip and Dale, more Disney Plus stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to be happy about it, though.
I'll get my bit out of the way.
Sure.
I watched Rescue Rangers as a kid. I was quite young, so I don't remember a lot specifically from it. I quite enjoyed Chip and Dale. The movie, I thought it was a lot of fun. I love the Lonely Island guys, and I liked their input, and I liked what they ended up doing with the world. I was a little disappointed. I think I had my height set, or my expectations set a little high. But there were some fun bits in it. My dad completely ruined as far as I was concerned, the best part of the movie for me. When Seth Rogen, his character runs into all the other characters he's voiced in animated features, and they're all talking at once. And he told me that before the movie. After I said, I don't want spoilers. And he goes, no, it's not a big deal. And then he says it. He says, this is the best part of the movie. And I said, are you sure? Because it sounds like I don't want the best part of the movie spoiled. And he goes, you'll be fine. And then he proceeded to spoil it, and I was disappointed when I actually saw it. So thanks, Dad. Love you.
Tim's just the best.
Like, he does actually watch this show, so now I feel bad that I've laid into him a bit. But
wow, he deserves. He's a dick.
Anyway, what was your take on it?
Man, I was a big Disney afternoon kid. That is right in the wheelhouse of when I grew up.
Sure,
but I didn't like the Rescue Rangers.
Oh.
I was a Donald Duck guy, so I hated the Chipmunks, and that was a weird loyalty thing.
You can like both.
Like as an 8-year-old, I'm like, no, those fucking two idiots just made Donald's life miserable for like 40 years.
Okay.
But I also thought DuckTales was a better show. I thought Darkwing Duck was a better show. I'm not a big Tailspin guy either, but I thought that was a better show. I think getting older and revisiting Rescue Rangers, there's appreciation for it in terms of its influences and where it comes from, and it holds up.
Sure.
Show. So I've grown to really, really like it.
Yeah.
So when I saw the trailer for this, number one, I thought the meta-ness of it was hilarious.
Yeah, I agree.
I love the concept of it, but I was a little bit worried. I love Andy Samberg. I'm a big Lonely Island guy too.
Yeah.
But I thought John Mulaney felt out of sorts.
Oh, okay.
And when I watched it, it was the other way around. I loved Mulaney as Chip, and I thought Andy was a little bit much as Dale. And Dale is supposed to be a lot of that.
Yeah.
But he and those are all his strengths. So I can't even, I don't know that you're supposed to love Dale.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't think I was going to like it at all. Nostalgia was great. Some of the newer, I had the opposite problem because I'm an old man yelling at the sky.
Sure.
So some of the newer references, I didn't love as much. Like Ugly Sonic and, the Seth Rogen bit. As much as I loved the Seth Rogen bit, I don't know that it was the best part of the movie.
I think it was the funniest part. But again, I also really like Seth Rogen.
Yeah, that's fair, right? But I think that kind of speaks to the beauty of the movie, where there's almost a little bit of something for everybody to at least,
Sure.
even if you didn't love the whole movie wholeheartedly, there's tons of stuff you could pick out.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of Andy, the Lonely Island guy's strength.
Yeah.
Because they're so dialed in to the culture and the time.
I wonder if kids really liked it, though. Like, I don't think this was made with kids in mind. I think this was aimed at the generation that grew up with it.
Yeah.
And then hopefully their kids don't hate it.
Yeah, get drawn in by Ugly Sonic.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot about him, but it's shocking how much of the movie he's in.
He's hilarious, though.
Like, he's pretty funny, but like, I don't know if that reference, like, is this movie going to be dated in 6 months? You know,
that's the problem with movies like this, is it will be.
Yeah.
Right? Unless you're not everything is going to be as timeless as Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
You'd have to be such a good movie to make that happen. But I'll probably revisit this at some point in a year and probably cringe the whole way through it. Maybe a little bit. There's a small chance that happens, because everything will feel like everybody's using like AOL and Netscape.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think that's it. Which is probably more than enough. I think we've talked for well past our typical target time for these.
And I think if we keep going, I just don't know how much more stuff there is to shit on.
Yeah, we're gonna. I think we're coming across more like Statler and Waldorf in this episode than we
less funny though.
Oh yeah, way less funny. Yeah. And we didn't even do the fun laugh.
No.
Like so. No. So let me just put it this way. I promise the next episode we won't be so lame.
Oh, I don't want to make that.
No, I
won't promise that.
But yeah, we'll see you guys next week.